Silence is not a sign of weakness. In fact, the strongest people are often the quietest. When others shout, they remain calm. When the world rushes, they remain still. When provoked, they do not retaliate with words. Why? Because they know that silence is not the absence of thought, it is the presence of wisdom. In a world where everyone wants to be heard, the one who listens gains the most. The one who controls their tongue has already conquered half of the battle against their own soul. Speaking is easy, reacting is natural, but staying silent when everything inside you wants to respond, that is mastery. That is strength of character, and that is the hallmark of the people Allah loves. There are moments when silence speaks louder than words. A person wrongs you, insults you, fabricates stories about you. The temptation to respond is intense. But what benefit is there in adding more noise to an already chaotic situation? Allah is watching, and the one who remains silent out of patience and trust will find that the reward is far greater than the satisfaction of a quick response. The Prophet remained silent on many occasions when he had every right to speak. He chose silence not because he was unable to answer, but because his silence was more powerful than any words he could utter. This is the sunnah of dignity. A person who talks too much eventually says things that they regret. Words can heal, but they can also harm. The more we speak without purpose, the more we open the door to arrogance, lies, backbiting, and sin. But when you remain silent, especially in times of emotional disturbance, you shield yourself from these dangers. You give yourself the space to think, to reflect, and to choose a better way. Many relationships could be saved if people learned to stay quiet during moments of anger. Many friendships could be preserved if silence had been chosen over sarcasm. Many regrets could be avoided if a person had just walked away without saying anything. Silence is not a punishment. It is a strategy. It allows you to see the game before making a move. The one who speaks too quickly often regrets, but the one who stays silent observes the full picture. In your silence, you'll notice things others miss. You'll hear things others ignore. You'll be able to see with clarity because your heart is not clouded with the need to defend yourself or to be understood. The greatest victories are often won through silence. Not because the battle wasn't worth fighting, but because it wasn't your battle to begin with. Allah defends the one who places trust in Him. You do not need to prove yourself to every human. You only need to remain upright in the sight of your Creator. Think of the great people of the past. They were not known for endless talking. They were known for their thoughtful speech, their measured responses, their pauses before words. The Prophet taught us that whoever believes in Allah and the last day should speak good or remain silent. This is not just a moral principle. It is a means of survival in a world full of misunderstandings, ego battles, and provocations. The one who stays silent is not surrendering to the situation, but surrendering to the wisdom of Allah. And when you surrender to Allah, He elevates you above the noise. When silence comes from a place of dignity, it becomes a powerful form of dawah. It shows people that you are not controlled by your emotions, nor do you need to lower yourself to be heard. Your silence is a mirror reflecting your strength. People may laugh at your quietness, they may misunderstand it, but Allah knows. He knows when you wanted to speak, when your heart burned with pain, when your tongue was ready to retaliate, yet you chose to remain silent for His sake. That kind of silence is not silence at all. It is worship. It is submission. It is proof that you know Allah sees everything and that His plan is always unfolding, even in the moments when your voice remains unheard. When a person adopts silence, not out of helplessness, but out of trust in Allah, something profound begins to happen. The heart that refuses to panic, complain, or react harshly becomes a vessel for divine intervention. Sometimes the loudest cries are not the ones shouted to the skies, but the ones whispered silently through patience. And in that silence, the help of Allah descends in the most unexpected ways. When you choose not to rush, not to defend yourself, not to constantly question the delay in your life, you are essentially saying, my Rabb knows, He sees, He hears, and I will wait until He chooses what's best for me. That trust brings down mercy, and that silence invites solutions you didn't even pray for. The life of the Prophet is filled with moments where silence brought victory. When the hypocrites spread lies, when the Quraysh hurled abuse, when false accusations flew, he often remained silent, allowing Allah to clear His name. Those moments were not easy. Imagine knowing the truth, yet being told to wait. But the victory came not through loud arguments, but through divine revelation. The one who lets Allah defend him is never humiliated. He is raised in honor because his silence is not silence. It is faith in action. When you don't chase after what is already written for you, when you stop trying to force open doors that were never meant for you, you begin to live a life of peace. The silent soul is not empty. It is full of contentment, knowing that Allah's wisdom is greater than human urgency. You don't need to rush after the world. The world comes to the one who walks steadily with trust. If your rizq is delayed, remain silent and keep working with sincerity. It will come to you. If marriage is not happening, don't speak out in frustration. Allah is preparing a better story than you are able to write for yourself. If people are ignoring you, belittling you, turning their backs on you, stay silent, because the one above never abandons. In fact, he draws nearer when everyone else walks away. Divine help often comes when we least expect it, but it comes especially when we stay quiet and steadfast. When Musa ﷺ stood at the edge of the sea with the army behind him and the waters ahead, his people panicked, but he remained calm. My Lord is with me, He will guide me, he said. He didn't argue, didn't shout, didn't blame. He trusted, and Allah split the sea. That is the power of trusting silence. It turns obstacles into miracles. When the heart relies on Allah with such deep certainty, the mouth no longer needs to explain or complain. It waits, and in that wait, it witnesses the unfolding of the most beautiful destinies. Silence is not always easy. In a world obsessed with expressing every emotion, every opinion, every disappointment, the one who keeps quiet is often seen as strange. But remember, you are not silent because you have nothing to say. You are silent because you trust the one who controls everything. The person who doesn't rush to defend himself in every argument, who doesn't post every pain online, who doesn't respond to every attack, has already handed over the situation to Allah, and Allah never disappoints the one who surrenders with sabr. Patience is not only about how long you wait, it is also about how you behave while you wait. The silent believer doesn't just sit idly. They continue their prayers, their acts of kindness, their hope. They don't need to scream their needs. Their silence is a dua louder than words. They don't need to fight for recognition. Their silent sincerity is already known to the King of Kings. And what Allah has written for them will come walking towards them, even if the entire world tries to block the path. There is a certain nobility in the one who remains quiet when being provoked. Dignity is preserved not in reacting, but in choosing not to lower oneself to the level of those who are loud without purpose. When a person understands the value of their words, they also learn the worth of their silence. Not every situation deserves a response. Not every insult deserves a reply. Not every accusation requires a justification. Silence, at times, is your greatest shield, your highest form of self-respect, and your clearest proof that your soul is anchored in Allah and not in the chaos of people's opinions. The Prophet was wronged repeatedly. He was called names, accused of lies, and treated with cruelty. Yet he often chose to stay quiet, not because he could not answer, but because the answer wasn't necessary. The silence itself was an answer, and that silence protected not only his dignity, but also his focus. He had a mission to complete, a purpose to fulfill, and distractions were many. But he taught us through his character that the loudest person in the room is not always the most powerful. Often it is the silent one, the calm one, the composed one, who carries the greatest inner strength. When someone slanders you or speaks ill of you, it's natural to want to respond. But ask yourself, who are you trying to convince? The one who lies already knows the truth. The one who envies you isn't interested in fairness. And those who believe what they hear without asking you are not people you need to explain yourself to. Preserve your energy. Don't drain your heart trying to manage every rumor. Let your silence speak on your behalf. Let your character be your voice. Let your consistency be your defense. With time, Allah allows the truth to shine, and falsehood fades into dust. There are people who thrive on conflict. They push, they provoke, they create drama because they feed off reactions. When you stay silent, you starve their fire. You don't allow their darkness to enter your light. You maintain control over your emotions, and that control is not weakness, it is power. In fact, the strongest one is not the one who can fight with his fists or with his words, but the one who can hold himself back when he is most tempted to retaliate. This is strength, this is maturity, and this is a quality loved by Allah. When you guard your tongue, you are also guarding your heart, because words, once released, cannot be taken back. They can heal, but they can also wound. A single harsh word can destroy a relationship, break a trust, or cause deep hurt. But a moment of silence, a pause before speaking, can be the difference between peace and pain. The one who protects others from the harm of their tongue is among the beloved in the sight of Allah. And the one who speaks only when their words are better than silence becomes a source of mercy to those around them. Silence in moments of conflict is not cowardice, it is wisdom. It's the realization that reacting immediately is often just a reflection of ego, not clarity. When you step back, stay silent and reflect, you give yourself the space to respond with intention rather than impulse. And sometimes the best response is no response at all, because silence isn't always an absence. It can be a presence of trust, of confidence, of knowing that Allah is the witness, the judge, and the protector. When you stop trying to prove your innocence to the world and start focusing on your relationship with the one who truly matters, you'll find peace that no words could ever provide. People may misunderstand your silence. They may interpret it as guilt, weakness, or indifference, but you don't owe everyone an explanation. You owe your soul peace. You owe your Lord sincerity. When you protect your dignity through silence, you show that your character is not for sale to every opinion that comes your way. You rise above, and in rising above, you find yourself closer to the one who raises hearts, defends reputations, and settles matters in ways far greater than our own hands ever could. There is something incredibly powerful about a believer who stays silent in moments when impatience, anxiety, or desperation are pressing hard on the heart. Silence in such moments is not passive, it is active faith. It is a declaration without words that says, "My Lord knows what I need better than I do. My timeline is not more accurate than His, and my pressure cannot speed up His plan." It takes strength to be quiet when you're waiting for your dawah to be answered, when you're watching others succeed, when you're bearing hardship alone. But that silence, filled with sabr and submission, is more beloved to Allah than many loud cries demanding answers. Silence in the face of Allah's delay is not neglect, it is reverence. It is acknowledging that Allah's timing is perfect, even if our understanding is limited. When a person understands that everything in their life is unfolding exactly as Allah has written, they stop forcing matters. They no longer chase what's not meant for them, nor do they panic when doors remain closed. They begin to realize that Allah withholds only to give better. Sometimes what you want immediately could harm you if given prematurely. Sometimes what you think is best is actually a test. So instead of complaining or rushing, the silent believer trusts. They keep making dawah, but they don't grow bitter. They keep trying, but they don't break themselves, chasing something that's not written for them. This silence is not defeat, it is tawakkul. It is placing full reliance on the one who sees the unseen and knows what lies ahead. There were many times in the life of the Prophet when he faced situations that demanded patience and silence. During the Treaty of Hudaybiyah, when terms seemed unfair and companions were confused, he did not protest emotionally. He remained composed because he trusted Allah's wisdom beyond what appeared on the surface. And later, what seemed like a delay was actually the beginning of a far greater victory. When we follow this example, we understand that our role is to obey, to remain patient, and to keep our hearts firm, not to dictate the outcome or rush the process. Staying silent when things aren't going your way is not easy. The world teaches you to demand, to shout, to hustle endlessly, and to never settle. But the believer understands that settling into Allah's decree is not failure, it's freedom. You don't need to exhaust yourself chasing what Allah has already guaranteed. Rizq, love, success, peace, all come at the right time, when the heart is ready and the soul is purified. The person who remains silent and content during the delay is not left empty. They are being prepared. And when their time comes, what reaches them will be filled with barakah, because it came through patience, not desperation. Silence is a form of sabr. And sabr is not simply waiting. It's waiting without resentment. It's waiting with good thoughts of Allah. It's choosing to smile through uncertainty, to continue your salah with sincerity, to serve others while your own needs are pending. It's crying in sujud but walking with strength. This kind of silence is heavy, but it's also noble. Angels record it, the heavens witness it, and Allah promises that those who bear with patience will be rewarded without measure. In every delay there is a reason, in every silence there is wisdom. If you're being tested with waiting, know that it's not because Allah has forgotten you. It's because He is polishing your heart, refining your trust, and preparing you for something greater. You don't need to speak loudly for your prayers to be heard. Sometimes the most powerful prayers are the silent ones, whispered in the heart, soaked in sincerity, wrapped in tears, and lifted in the quiet hours of the night. And those are the ones that travel fastest to the throne of the Most Merciful. When you stay silent while trusting in Allah's timing, you've already begun to receive what you've been waiting for, because the strength to stay silent is itself a gift from the one who listens. Look at the world around you, the trees, the oceans, the mountains, the stars in the sky. Everything follows a divine rhythm, and none of it makes noise to prove its worth. The sun rises without a sound, yet its presence lights up the world. The moon glows in silence, yet it brings calm to the darkest nights. Rain falls quietly, yet it revives the dead earth. The roots of a tree work silently beneath the soil, yet they are the reason the tree stands strong above it. All of nature surrenders to its creator, without questioning the timing, without interrupting the flow, and without rushing the process. In this quiet obedience, everything blossoms. In this calm surrender, everything finds its place. That is the wisdom the believer should take, to stay silent, stay consistent, and allow growth to unfold the way Allah intended. When a person imitates the silence of nature, they begin to grow in the same way. Not through noise or declarations, but through deep inner work that may be invisible to others. It's easy to speak loudly about your goals, your pain, your needs, and your frustrations, but true strength is in the one who keeps watering their soul in silence. They wake up for tahajjud while the world sleeps. They make dua while no one is watching. They forgive people silently. They give in secret. They plant seeds of effort without broadcasting it to the world. And eventually, like the seed buried in darkness, they sprout in the most unexpected season, all because they trusted the process and didn't rush the harvest. Nature teaches us that nothing beautiful comes instantly. A flower does not bloom the moment it is planted. It waits. It pushes through the dirt. It leans towards the light. It stays rooted in the darkness, trusting that growth is happening even if no one sees it yet. In the same way, a believer who stays silent while working, while waiting, while healing, is also growing. Every moment of silent patience, every act of quiet endurance, every day of unseen struggle is adding to your spiritual height, like the tree that grows tall through seasons of stillness. The Prophet once said that the believer is like a palm tree, firmly rooted, bearing fruit, never breaking in the storm. A palm tree doesn't make noise while it grows. It simply does what it was created to do. That is the model of quiet strength. You don't need to constantly speak to prove you're moving forward. You just need to be consistent, sincere, and silently connected to the one who nurtures you. Some of the most beautiful people are those who are calm, humble, and hidden, but their presence brings shade, comfort, and benefit to everyone around them. Growth takes time, and noise does not speed it up often, it slows it down. When we rush to speak, we can disturb the natural unfolding of things. When we try to force people to understand us, when we talk endlessly about our pain, when we seek constant validation, we sometimes end up weakening the very strength we are trying to build. But silence gives space for reflection. It gives room for Allah's decree to manifest in ways we never expected. Just as the rain falls on the earth when it is time, just as the fruit ripens when it is ready, your journey too is moving at the perfect pace. Your silence is not wasted. It is being heard in the heavens. Your tears in the dark are known to the one who shaped the night. Your silent efforts, your hidden acts of worship, your quiet forgiveness, your calm in the storm, all of it is building you. Stay rooted. Like nature, you don't need to make noise to grow. You just need to be in submission, in motion, and in remembrance. Let the world see your fruits when it's time, but for now, stay quiet, stay firm, and let your roots deepen where no one can see but the one who created you. In the stillness of silence, a person begins to hear what the noise of the world drowns out. The world is loud with distractions, voices, opinions, arguments, endless streams of information. And in all that sound, it becomes difficult to hear the most important voice of all, the voice of the soul, the whisper of guidance, the pull towards truth. When a person chooses silence, they are not simply avoiding noise from others, they are allowing space for the heart to listen. And what the heart hears in silence is often what brings it back to peace, clarity, and purpose. When you stop speaking so much and start listening inwardly, You begin to recognize what truly matters, what deserves your energy, and what doesn't. That is when you start living with wisdom. The Prophet would spend long hours in quiet reflection, particularly before revelation came to him. In the cave of Hira, there was no one but him and his thoughts, him and the silence, him and the presence of Allah. And it was in that silence that the first words of revelation descended. That moment was not random, it was divinely chosen. Because revelation comes to the heart that is still, not the one distracted by the world. When your heart is constantly filled with noise, social pressure, worldly concerns, arguments, self-justification, you close the door to divine clarity. But when you empty it through silence, you create a space for understanding to enter, for light to settle, and for truth to grow. Silence is a mirror. It reflects back to you your true self. In your silence, you begin to see your intentions more clearly. You start recognizing which feelings are genuine and which are fueled by ego. You notice where your heart is attached, whether it's clinging to people, to outcomes, or to control. Silence reveals these attachments and gives you a chance to correct them before they become your downfall. It shows you where your trust lies. Is it with the plan you have crafted for yourself, or is it with the decree of the one who created you from nothing? When you sit quietly with your thoughts, you begin to detect the whispers of pride, the illusions of fear, the weight of ungratefulness, and through that awareness, you begin the journey back to sincerity. A believer who adopts silence trains the heart to become more alert. When you're not constantly speaking, you become more observant. You notice people's pain without them telling you. You recognize signs from Allah in the events around you. You hear the verses of the Quran in a deeper way because your mind is not occupied with preparing a response. It is fully present. Even the way you make dua changes. It becomes less about words and more about presence. Less about repeating lines and more about feeling connected. A silent heart can make a louder plea to the heavens than a shouting tongue. In your silence, you also become a safer person. Others feel at peace around you because they know you're not constantly judging, reacting, or seeking attention. Your calmness brings them comfort. Your quietness becomes a source of healing. And more than that, your silence shields you from the sins of the tongue. Backbiting, lying, arguing, and mocking. You protect your deeds by staying quiet, and in doing so you preserve your light. The Prophet said that whoever guarantees him what is between their jaws and between their legs, he would guarantee paradise for them. The tongue can ruin years of good deeds in a few careless minutes, but the one who learns to stay silent has already stepped on the path to Jannah. When you quiet the ego, the soul begins to speak. It starts reminding you of Allah, calling you back to prayer, nudging you toward repentance, guiding you to forgive, to let go, to surrender. These inner voices are always present, but we often can't hear them because our lives are filled with outward noise. Silence is not about avoiding speech forever. It's about creating a sacred space where the most meaningful conversations can happen. The ones between you and your Lord, the ones between your heart and your truth, the ones that restore your direction and heal your purpose. When you master silence, you master focus. And when you master focus, you begin to live with clarity, peace, and nearness to the one who created you.